Shivaya Nama, Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back to our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 19th Thirupathigam and the very first verse. By God's grace, we have already completed 8 Thirupathigams and now we are moving on to the 9th Thirupathigam. This Thirupathigam is written by Poonthuruthi Nambi Kadanambi and it is written to the place called as Thillai. This particular Padhigam is written in a pun called as Salarapani. In the latest raga, we call this as Ananda Bhairavi. To talk about this particular raga, this is the only Padhigam that we got in this pun. So, if we look at the significance of this, the entire 9th Thirumurai is usually sung with this particular pun, which is Ananda Bhairavi raga. To that extent, it has taken a very predominant step. Now, let's look at the very first verse right now. Tiruchitrambaram. Muthu vayiramani manika malaygal mel thothu milirvana pol தூண்டு விளக்கைப்ப எத்திசையும் வானவர்கள் ஏத்தும் எழில் தில்லை அத்தனுக்கும் அம்பலமே ஆடரங்கமாயிற்றே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். The Lord Shiva, cosmic dancer, Nataraja, is beautifully performing his dance in the place called as Thillai. He is dancing there among all the devas praising him. He is wearing a beautiful chain made of all precious gems like pearl, coral, ruby and diamond. Among all these precious gems, there are also flowers attached to it, which means we are able to see the beauty of the gems as well as we are able to feel the fragrance of the flowers. And also, if you talk about a lamp, which is usually there in a temple, right? When we talk about a lamp, the wick of the lamp will always have some kind of a blackish dust in it. So once we talk about remove that and we clearly make the flame a little bit more clear, the entire place will be even more brighter. So the entire place called as Thillai is filled with natural bright light from the flowers as well as the gems. Also, it is the place is bright because of the artificial light like the lamp. Not only that, he is also dancing in this particular place for making sure that the souls are getting realized. Because if you talk about light and if you talk about music, that is what we call it as the Nada Vindu Tattvam. The Nada Tattvam and the Vindu Tattvam, which represents the sound as well as the light. So whatever we are talking about, this entire world is filled with sound and light. So Lord Shiva here is dancing in the form of sound and light to make sure that souls are getting realized faster so that we can achieve the real purpose of our life, the real happiness of this life. Why are we born in this world? Once we start understanding the real reason, that is what realization is all about. So that concludes the first verse and the second verse. The verse goes this way. Tiruchitrambalam. கடியார் கணம் புல்லர் கண்ணப்பர் என்று உன் அடியார் அமருலகம் ஆளனியாளாதே முடியா முத்தி வாழ்வி மூவாயிரவரோடும் குடி வாழ்க்கை கொண்டு நீ குலாவி கூத்தாடி நயே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். In this verse, Lord Shiva is represented as someone who is performing the cosmic dance in the place called as Thillai, Chidambaram, which is called as Chidambaram. Here, there are two this entire Padhigam is going to talk about almost a few Nayanmars, which is considered to be those 63 Nayanmars are there in our history who have done various sevas to achieve Lord Shiva's lotus feet. In that, there is one particular Nayanar who is called as Ganampullar, who achieved realization in this place called as Chidambaram. So here in this verse, Kadampullar's concept is, as in his Kadampullar's name is being recited here to say, once, like what he did was actually a sariye, which we call it as a sariye. Sariye is whoever does the physical, as in the physical bodily work. When we talk about the service, we usually classify under Sariye, Kiriye, Yogam and Jnanam. Sariye is 75% body, 25% mind. Kiriya is 50% body, 50% mind. Yoga is 75% mind and 25% body. Jnana is 100% mind. So if you talk about Kadampullar, he was 75, he took the path of Sariye, which is 75% of physical work, 25% mind work. He achieved the state of realization and he is residing in the place called as Shivloka. The next Nayanmar who is being represented here is Kannappar. Kannappar is Jnana, which is 100% mind. So he has surrendered completely and he also achieved Lord Shiva's lotus feet, which is Shivloka, and he is also residing there. Instead of living with them, taking care of them, what Lord Shiva has done is he has already come down to our world in order to ensure that he is bringing everyone, as in whoever is living here, he wants to bring all of us back to this realization state. So instead of being there and relishing the good time, he has come down to Thillai to be with the people here in order to give them the state of realization, and he is living there in a harmonious manner. That is what verse number 2 talks about. And here he says, as in the saint says, there are Vedic devotees here who are performing all the rituals on a daily basis, and they are very meticulous in their rituals on a daily basis. So Lord Shiva is relishing living here as well. That is what verse number 2 is all about. Third verse. The verse goes this way. Chidambaram. அல்லியம் பூம்பாழனத்து ஆமூர்நாவு கரசை செல்வ நெறி வகுத்த சிவகனி தென்தில்லை கொல்லை விடையேறி கூத்தடரங்காக செல்வ நிறைந்த சிற்றம்பலமே சேர்ந்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse talks about one of the most important saint in Saivism, who is called as Thirunavukku Arasar, literally translated as a king of words. The way how he sings his words, the verses are so strong that he is considered to be the king, an emperor. Not only that, he is also called as Appar Peruman. Appar means dad. When Kazhipilayar, Thiruñana Sambandar met Appar Peruman, when he first saw, he called him as Appa. Appa means dad. So he has that kind of an appearance. Not only that, he has all the qualities of being a dad. A dad is the one who can guide us properly. He is the one who can tell us what is right and what is wrong. He is the one who can punish us also. Similar to Appar Peruman's Thirumurai. If you take Appar Peruman's Thirumurai, read it with the meanings, once we start understanding, it will be as if he is holding on to our shirt and just slapping on our face and say, what kind of life are you guys living? The real life, the real purpose of life is not this. So he would be directly telling us what we are doing is wrong and what we should be doing. Everything will be very beautifully given to us. That is why we always say Sol Urudikku Appar, which means if you want to see the real power in words, the real strength in the words, it's only from Appar Peruman's Thirumurai. So to that extent, Appar Peruman's Thirumurai is supposed to be one of the most fascinating and at the same time very, it teaches us what needs to be done, how we should live our life. Thirumurai 4, Thirumurai 5 and Thirumurai 6 was written by Appar Peruman. Of course, he wrote a lot more verses, but we have lost all those unfortunately. So what has been given to us, bestowed on us, is only the 4th, 5 and the 6th Thirumurai. In this verse, verse number 3, our saint says, Appar Peruman, who is also called as Thirunavukku Arasar, was born in the holy place called as Thiruvamur. This place, Thiruvamur, even today is considered to be a very, very holy and a sacred place. We have to be visiting that place. So Thiruvamur is one of the place where Appar Peruman was born, and he was taken, completely taken by Shiva Peruman. Lord Shiva took away Appar Peruman and kept him safely in his lotus feet, Shiva Peruman's lotus feet. That kind of a qualification is the biggest qualification that we are all longing for, and Appar Peruman was bestowed with it, but it was not an easy task for him. Almost until his 60th year, he was in some other religion. He was born as a Saivite, but then he went on with some other religion. He grew up in that religion as the biggest head monk, after which Lord Shiva grabbed him, zapped him back, and Appar Peruman came back to Saivism. He was here all the way until 80 plus years. Even when he was 82, 83, he was still doing a lot of physical work, as in cleaning the temples, making sure the temples are not having, as in the orchards that's there, as well as the flower gardens and all these are really cleaned up, maintaining the temples without much of the big trees and all these, right? So he makes sure that all the temples are cleaned up. This is what we call it as Uravaram. Imagine right now at the age of 40 or 50, we are not able to get up, we are not able to sit down, we have ankle pain, we have leg pain, we have back pain, we have whatever pains in the world, right? Everything comes in, and they are calling it as arthritis, rheumatism, whatever. Now imagine, even at the age of 82 and 83, he was able to clean up so much. You know how big India temples are, right? Even after we have lost so much of land, still the temples are bigger. So those days when the temple's land was still with the temple, imagine how big it would have been. Imagine he was able to clean everything single-handedly. That tells us what level of strength, mental strength Appar Peruman had. So this particular verse is dedicated to Appar Peruman, to say Appar Peruman was taken as one of the devotee, and he was given the beautiful place, beautiful position in Shivloka, which is Lord Shiva's place, and that Shiva who gave this position to Appar Peruman resides in the place called as Thillai, in the place called as Chidambaram. And this place is filled with all sort of wealth. Whatever we call it as wealth as of today is all there in this place called as Thillai. That is what verse number 3 is all about. And the 4th verse, the verse goes this way: Thirumrai எம்பந்த வல்வினை நோய் தீர்த்திட்டு எமையாளும் சம்பந்தன் காழியர்கோன் தன்னையுமாட்கொண்டருளி அம்புந்து கண்ணாளும் தானும் மாணிதில்லை செம்பொன்சை அம்பலமே சிந்திருக்கையாயிற்றே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Yesterday we spoke about Thirunavukkarasar. Today we are talking about Thiruஞானசம்பந்தர். He was the one who was fed with a holy milk when he was 3 years old, and he started singing Thirupadigams as young as 3 years old. When you talk about leadership, you can only talk about the Kazhipiள்ளையார், because he is such a great leader that we can ever think of in our generation. One of the best leadership quality, even though he was very young, a small boy. He did such a miraculous work, and also he did so much for Tamil language. Today, even though he was born in a Vedic tradition, Vedic family, he did such a bit. His contributions for Tamil is something that is significant as of today. No one has written padigams like him. He has written palindrome padigams, and also he has written a padigam, when you write it, it will be in the form of a chariot. He has written padigams called as yamagam, same words but with different meanings. But the way how you pronounce it will be so rhythmic, but it will all have different meanings. He has written something called as Egapadam, 4 lines with the same words, no change, but 4 different meanings. No one has ever tried those. If you look at Kari Pillayar, his contribution to Tamil is something which is very, very significant, beyond words, beyond description. But he comes from a Vedic family. But he always associated himself as Tamil Jnana Sambandar, which is to say, Tamil has become a significant part of his life. Now, do we need to fight for Tamil or Sanskrit in our lifetime? Not necessary, because it's for God. He knows everything. You don't need to go and stand in front of him and introduce ourselves. We don't need a name card to give it to him. Nothing of that sort. But why are we doing puja is for our satisfaction, for us to understand. So whatever language is more comfortable for us, we just need to follow that. That's it. There is nothing to fight. There is nothing to be prejudiced about. There is nothing to be discriminating about in terms of languages. Anyways, that is what fourth verse is all about. He says, Kariyar Kon, which is the king of Sirhari, he was born in the place called as Sirhari, and he was born for only one reason, to remove all my karmic deeds. Even today we will be able to relate. First 3 Thirupadigams are Kari Pillayar Thirupadigams. We call it as Thirukadaikappu. When you start reading it, you will have so many challenges. Lord Shiva will not, it's not Lord Shiva, it's our karma that will not let you finish that Thirupadigam. It will not let us. But if you are determined, you say, no, I have to finish. And if you are determined and start reading it continuously, that is where you will visibly see our karmas getting rid, washed away. Being washed away, literally. You will have so many challenges in reading the first 3 Thirupadigams, but once, 3 Thirumurai rather. If you start reading it with so much of a determination, you will visibly see all our karmic deeds moving away from us. That kind of a very, very powerful mantra is the first 3 Thirumurai. First Thirumurai, second and the third, written by Kari Pillayar, Thiruñana Sambandar, and it is called as Thirukadaikappu. What Lord Shiva did was, he again embraced Kari Pillayar, and he also gave the position in Shivloka. So Shivloka is the place where Kari Pillayar stays in forever, in eternity. And who gave that position to him? Who gave the position to Kari Pillayar is Lord Shiva, who resides with his consort in the place called as Thillai. That is what verse number 4 is all about. And the 5th verse. The verse goes this way. Chidambaram. Kalaya udalodu seeramanaaruran valaya madamara vallane mel kolla mulaya madisodi மூவாயிரவரோடும் அளையா விளையாடும் அம்பலம் நின்னாடரங்கே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse brings us the thought of Nambi Arurar. He is the 3rd saint in Saivism that we always worship. So first is Thiruñana Sambandar, second is Thirunavukkarasar, the third is Nambi Arurar. In colloquial terms, he is also called as Sundarar, but none of the places the saints have represented him as Sundarar. Rather, that has just been a colloquial term, but what we have to address him as is only Nambi Arurar. Nambi Arurar was born in one of the Saivite family in South India, in Tirunavalur. That is the place he was born, and he was taken as a Shiva devotee during his wedding anniversary. After that, he started visiting various places and started singing holy hymns on him. Quite a lot of desads were created by him, written by him, and as of today, you will be able to relish so many things in his padigam. Such a lovely, deep meanings are there in his padigams. So, how Lord Shiva took him is, he sent him on white elephant, and the white elephant was sent all the way from Kailash to bring Nambi Arurar back to his home. Seraman Perumal Nayanar, who took Nambi Arurar as his close friend, was also brought along with Nambi Arurar to Kailash, which means whoever worshipped Nambi Arorar were also given this holy position called as Shivloka position. For example, Paravanachiyar, Sangili Nachiyar, daughter of Sadangavi Sivacharya, Somasi Maranayanar, Seraman Perumal, and Erkon Kalikamar, as well as Perumalai Kurumbar, to just name a few. If you look at them, they did not worship Shiva directly, but all they did was just worship Nambi Arorar, and Nambi Arorar directly took them to Kailash along with them. This is the beauty of worshipping a devotee itself. That is the main purpose of Nambi Arorar to come down, is to tell the human beings that what is the speciality of being a Shiva devotee, and how an ardent Shiva devotee must be, and as in a Saivite must be, and at the same time what kind of because we always have a question, can I ask this to God, what kind of a relationship should I maintain with God, and all these. He maintained a very, very friendly relationship, and he showed and he lived this as an example to show us what kind of a relationship we can maintain with Lord Shiva. That is what verse number 5 is all about. And the 6th verse, the verse goes this way. Thirumrai-Thiruvisaippa. அகலோகம் எல்லாம் அடியவர்கள் தச்சோழ புகலோகம் உண்டென்று புகும் இடம் நீ தேடாதே புவலோக நெறி படைத்த புண்ணியங்கள் நன்னிய சீர் சிவலோகம் ஆவதுவும் தில்லை சிற்றம்பலமே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse gives us a very beautiful clarity about the biggest confusion all of us have in our lifetime. We would be thinking, what is our future? Where are we going to stay when we are old? What is going to happen when we get old? What kind of a retirement plan and all these? Imagine this life, this birth that we have taken is only for a very short period. This is what, whenever we talk about a girl's life, 2 lives are there for a girl. One is when she was born in a house with her parents, and that house doesn't belong to her. One day or the other, she has to leave that house and go along with her husband to start a new life. And the husband's house is going to be the permanent house for her, which means until her death, until her last breath, she has to be there. If we consider all of us as a girl in a girl's life, whether we are a male or a female, it doesn't matter. When we talk about us as a lady, we were born when we don't have a date, so we don't know when we were born, as in the Atma, as in the Anma. We don't know when we were born. The soul has no expiry date. It doesn't have a birth date also. We have only a birth date for this body and a death date for this body. So what happened to the soul? It was there all along. It came all the way with accompanying with Arnavam, the entanglement, which is called as Arnavam. After a while, it is going to move on to the permanent house. Permanent house, which is the husband's house, is nothing but Lord Shiva's lotus feet. All we have to do is long and strive to achieve that. So what Lord Shiva has done is, he is showing us, because we all need a mock-up, right? Without a mock-up, we can't really visualize. So what Lord Shiva is doing is, he is taking the form of, in the form of Nataraja. He is there in this place called as Thillai. We all know Thillai is well known for giving us realization when we visit that temple. It's known for it. And there he is staying along with all the Shiva devotees to tell us that, don't worry, if you really want to get your realization, all you have to do is be along with the devotees, be in a satsang. Satsang is the only place where, only thing that can resolve all the karmic deeds. And that is the only one which can bring you to the state of salvation as well. That is what verse number 6 is all about, and the 7th verse. The verse goes this way, Thirumrai-Thiruvisaippa. கள்ளகமணி மாடம் சூழிகை சூழ்மாளிகை மேல் அழகமதி நுதலார் ஆயிழையார் போற்றிசைப்ப ஒளி கொண்ட மாமணிகள் ஓங்கிருளை அங்கற்றும் தெளி கொண்ட தில்லை சிற்றம்பலமே சேர்ந்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse talks about a very important concept that we are all confused with today. The common question that we ask is, being a female, can I sing Tirupadigams? Can I attend Siddhantam classes? Can I get Dikshay and can I start worshipping Shiva? Obviously we can do. If you look at these Padigam, this particular verse especially, which was written almost like 1100 years back, and in this the author, the saint says, the ladies in the place, there's a beautiful place called as Thillai. This place is filled with beautiful castles and palaces. In those palaces and castles, there are young girls who are beautifully singing and praising Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva stays in this place where all these girls are singing, and he is blessing them with all possible good health and wealth. These girls are wearing all the ornaments, jewelry, which has all the precious stones, and these precious stones are so bright to the extent that it is totally throwing away darkness in that place. So Lord Shiva relishes the songs and the beautiful place which is called as Thillai, which is filled with all these music and the praises that is being offered to him. All he is expecting is only love. Whatever we are sincerely able to give, that is more important. So there is no discrimination here, being a male or a female. The reason is, according to Saiva Siddhanta, male or a female discrimination is only for the body, but the soul doesn't have any gender. And based on the karma, based on the karmic deeds, and to eradicate our karma, we are given the outer dress. The dress can either be in the form of a male or a female or an elephant or a spider or a monkey or a donkey or a pig or whatever it is. It doesn't matter, because that is only to make sure that we are going through that experience so that we can get a little bit of a maturity and get rid of our karma. That is what verse number 7 is all about, and the 8th verse. The verse goes this way. Thiruchitrambalam. படகமும் நூபுரமும் பல்சீலம்பும் பேந்தோலிப்ப சுடக கை நல்லார் தொழுதேத்த தொல்லுலகில் நாடகத்தின் கூத்தை நவிற்றும் அவன் நாள்தோறும் ஆடகத்தான் மீந்தமைந்த அம்பலம் நின்னாடரங்கே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். The earlier verse, as in the 7th verse, spoke about how the girls there, as in the young ladies and the girls, are performing their musical devotions, and they were singing so that they could achieve, because Lord Shiva is in the form of music and he is a music lover somehow. So they were contributing their devotion in the form of music. In the 8th verse, they are talking about the girls who are performing their dance. We all know Thillai, Chidambaram, is associated with cosmic dance. And when we talk about the cosmic dance, the place is called as, the place is Chidambaram, where the cosmic dance is being performed by the cosmic dancer in the form of Nataraja. Nadaraja, that's what it's called as Nataraja, because he's performing his dance. In this place, girls are also performing their dance. Now, if you look at the basic difference, Lord Shiva is performing the dance in order to perform the 5 duties, as in creation, sustenance, destruction, as well as he's the one who's going to hide stuffs, and at the same time he's going to be the one who's going to provide us with the grace. So he's performing the Panchakritya. Then, but when we talk about our dance, what we are trying to do is control our 5 senses and make sure that our body and our mind is aligned very well, so that we can support and we can basically surrender ourselves and support our meditation over here. Dance is a form of meditation. This place, Thillai or Chidambaram, is well done with gold. If you even today, if you visit there, you will be able to see the entire temple is, as in the upper the roof of the temple is made of gold. So the gold place, that is why it is called as the Chidambaram place is called as Ponnambalam, which is made of, it is called as a place which is made of gold. Here Lord Nataraja is performing his dance, and the girls are also performing their dance in a way to show their devotion, in a way to get into the meditative state. That is what verse number 8 is all about. And the 9th verse, the verse goes this way. Thirumrai-Thiruvisaippa. உருவத்தெரியுருவாய் ஊழிதோரெத்தனையும் பரவி கிடந்தயனும் மாலும் பணிந்தேத்த இரவிக்கு நேராகி எய்ந்திலங்கு மாளிகை சூழ்ந்து அரவிக்கும் அம்பலமே ஆடரங்கமாயிற்றே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse talks about a beautiful advice for us. If we are approaching Lord Shiva just because we have the highest intellect possible in this world, or the highest money, as in we are one of the most richest person in the world, do you think we can achieve Lord Shiva's lotus feet? The answer here, which is coming from the 9th verse, says no. That is why it is represented as a metaphor, it is represented as Brahma and Vishnu. Brahma represents education or the intellectual state. Vishnu represents money. With the help of money, with the help of intellect, we can never achieve Lord Shiva. But what we can achieve, how can we achieve, is with pure love, with pure dedication. That is why Lord Shiva is standing here and performing his cosmic dance in the form of thousands of suns together. That's what they call it as Ayiram Kodi Surya Prakasam. Surya means sun. They call it as sun, the brightness of sun. Why is this brightness needed? We all know when the sun rises, all the darkness in this world will be diminished, which means the darkness in our heart, which gives us the illusion that intellect is higher or money is higher, will be demolished, will be diminished, and we will start to understand the real reason or the real cause which can bring us closer to Lord Shiva, which is love. That is what verse number 9 talks about. Lord Shiva, who is performing the dance in the place where it's called as the cosmic dance, in the place called as Thillai. It is also called as Chidambaram. Here Lord Shiva is performing the dance to give us this intellect. Only based on this knowledge, only based on this intellect, we can achieve his lotus feet. That concludes the 9th verse and the finale verse, which is verse number 10. This concludes the entire Padigam. This is called as Thirukadaikappu or Phalashruti. Let's look at the verse. Sedarurai-Thillai Sitrambalatandan ஆடல்லதிசயத்தை ஆங்கறிந்து Poonthuruthi காடன் தமிழ் மாலை பத்தும் கருத்தறிந்து பாடும் இவை வல்லார் பற்று நிலை பற்றுவரே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse talks about the reason why a soul must read this Padigam. He says the place which is called as Thillai is filled with all the intellect, the people who have this right intellect, and Poonthuruthi, as in he's representing his own name. The author is representing his own name. The saint name is Poonthuruthi Nambi. He has visited this temple and he has fallen in love with Lord Shiva. That is why he has sung these 10 verses. If someone is able to read or sing these Padigam with understanding the inner meaning, Once they are able to recite this entire Thirupadigam with the meaning, once they understand the meaning, they have to recite it. If they do so, they will get to hold on to the real thing in this world that they need to hold on to. According to Saiva Siddhantam, there are three things that we always talk about. One is called as Padi, another one is Pasu, another one is Pasam. Pasam is the entanglement that we are able to see. Today, we are getting attached to the car, to the palaces or the home that we have, land we have, or everything that is materialistic around us. That is basically an entanglement we have been holding on to, which is part of Pasam. Alternatively, we are holding on to relationships. Even in spite of knowing that it is a toxic relationship, we are still holding on to it. So, in this Padigam, he says, someone who has already surrendered themselves to Lord Shiva will only be able to read this Padigam. If you are able to read this Padigam, you will know what is the real thing for you to hold on to. What is the real thing that you should be entangled with, which is nothing but Padi, which is Lord Shiva. When you talk about the meaning of a Padigam, it is not easy to understand the meaning of the Padigam. What we are looking at is only the superficial meaning of it. The real meaning of any Thirupadigam is only Lord Shiva. So what we have to understand is, understand Lord Shiva and read this Padigam. Read this Padigam in order to understand Lord Shiva. It goes in as a, it's a bit complicated. So it's like a chicken and egg situation, right? Which came first? So we need to understand that only by reading Thirupadigams we can understand Shiva. Once we understand Shiva, we will automatically start reading Thirupadigams. That is what verse number 10 is all about. We'll come back again with the next Thirupadigam very soon. Until then, Sivaya Nama, Tiruchitrambalam.